how this QI tried to block. There was something that very deep that came to me, and it tried to block it. It's called running interference through the waves of the 5G. That this house has 5G, so I wear sometimes at night I wear this, which is Mylar, and I did pick up an air purifier, right? But I'm a cosmic level antenna, so I'm a monopole. So I have certain abilities that allows me to, as I mentioned in previous videos about being able to heal myself and all those that are with me up there, okay, that are there on my behalf while I'm running this terminal down here and communicating with people on this platform, right? Nevertheless, what I'm sharing here based on what I just covered in my prior video had to do with the word I love, we all can arrange these letters, which are numbers, which are energy, which is the math, right? That represents really hot and cold water, okay? DNA born in water worlds, right? The purity of the water is the purity of the fire, which is the purity of the spirit that is in the water, which is consciousness, right? So that's why time is illusion, right? There is no time, there's only energy, right? Vibration and frequency. Phasing in and out, phasing in and out, phasing in and out, phasing in and out. Spinning. Rototillers. Drano, right? Roto-rooter. Root it out. Just like what do they call root canals? Root it out. Using a drill motor. Going vertical. A vertical plume. They're inverted because there's very few at the top. They're all feeding on all the energy on the bottom. As above, so below. So here's something that after I finish the last video, it just comes to you because one of the gifts, and I've called this, the X is called touche. Like everything's about competing with each other, fame and fortune, the material side versus the spiritual side, spirit, and then you have matter, and then spirit, right? Losing speed, gaining mass. Gaining speed, losing mass. Wait. Hey, man, I got a lot of baggage. Got to clear the circuits. Clear the motherboard on the planet. Yeah. So you can measure that in oxygen content. See? That's when I pose that to Galactic Talk. Oh, man. It's a liar. The science, the math does not lie. 21% oxygen is 3. Right? What happens when you lower the oxygen on the planet? Ask Karen McDonald. What's the electrical potential of hydrogen? Waste product metabolism. Slow the motor down. These guys at Galactic Talk just completely insult the intelligence of Mother Earth. Gaia. Okay? They did. These are not high-level mathematicians, which means the math is built in with the consciousness, with the soul, like a monopole. Okay? So one of the gifts of being able to experience more light, because when you're a monopole and you're a sponge, a polarity integrator, it means we get it all. So sometimes we know that as a polarity integrator, as a single candlestick, we experience all of it. That means we feel all of it. That's why I can walk through a consciousness field and all of a sudden it's just like, Whoa, where'd those thoughts come from? Some demonic shit. Psh, bye. Psh, bye. Psh, bye. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Who knows? So you realize you're surrounded by folks where those thoughts are being scaled out, right? Represented by what they are. And that's particularly true when you're around folks that are smoking a lot of crack, blowing holes in their energy field, right? All the perversion of nature. Octella has called it a buffoonery system. That's a good one. That's a great way to put it. Laughter's medicine, but it's not funny when you start adding up all the trauma and the fracture of souls as a result of how many folks are simply not aware of what's going on. So when you're a sponge, that means when more photons, when more light, which is real living light, which is consciousness, which is higher mathematical intelligence, that is communicating with you, and you begin to realize, man, this magnifying glass is really, now we're exposing all of it, right? All of it. Every last bit of it, which is like no escape. No escape. They're not going to be able to hide behind the bullshit, okay, of those that are not willing to tell the absolute truth, okay, which is really mathematical accountability and mathematical responsibility for the use of your energy. Okay, so for example, when I was growing up as a child, I don't know of anything that upset my father, because my father was always in a state of complete calm and peace. Okay, but the only thing that I knew that would ever upset my father was if he ever found out that you could not be trusted because you lied deliberately to protect yourself out of fear of telling the truth, which is called resistance to tell it and communicate it, and something else that he mentioned to me. And it's called the sine wave of omission, which means we're aware of something, but we're not going to say anything about what we're aware of that might bring truth, put light on the subject, as my father would say, putting light, which is what love is, which means love, which is what light is, which is the higher state of situational awareness, is going to present it, because they realize what it means if you think through the lens of risk perception, which means love is going to protect you, because love, which is real light, has a higher vibrational state of perception or situational awareness. So if you don't want to experience any trauma in yourself, and you're aware of something that others aren't, but you don't want to mention it out of fear to tell them, then therefore you already know that because you're aware of what's going to happen as a future event, if you don't make others aware of it because you have a higher state of awareness, because you are what love is and you don't share that with them, my father referred to that as a sin of omission. You omitted it, even though you were aware of it. Right? So I thank my father, because my father was in the military and started out as a lieutenant JG, having already been a pilot, right? And then he became a scout pilot, then a fighter pilot, and then he became an instructor through the U.S. Navy, and then later was in that field for no coincidences, right? In the aeronautical war machine business for the same corporate folks, right? So it's not like my father was not aware of what was going on. He was on a certain level, but there were a lot of things that my father was not aware of that I was aware of because of the resistance. The difference in the ability of my father to burn off all the stuff that was held in his soul cellular memory records that was preventing my father from being able to experience what I was aware of. And one of the reasons why I was able to acknowledge within myself that I realized there were things that my father was not aware of that I was aware of that I didn't want to share with my father. Okay? Because now it's going to open up what's called Pandora's box that Harold talked about. And now all of a sudden trying to explain all that to my father at a time in which you're under security protocols, because now when this QI becomes aware of what I become aware of. Remember, Ogteller's mentioned that once? Yep. So in other words, we have sort of a built-in restricted way in which to not allow ourselves to communicate what it is we're really aware of that we're going to experience in the future, because we know that we're going to be able to experience it in the future. These are the known unknown knowns. That's the knowing, like the movie The Knowing. I've suggested to people, if you want to see a brilliant illustration of how the math works for this, because the math doesn't lie, is the movie The Knowing. The first time I became aware of it, which is when I was supposed to become aware of it, was actually on one of Yellow Rose for Texas. I call him a sidekick, but I've never met the individual. But his name is Adam 1414. I believe it's a he. I don't know, because I've never met this being face to face, soul to soul, eyes to eyes, spirit to spirit. I just know it as an identity that is putting visual information up there. And then what I do is I mathematically calculate it using my pole, right? And what it is that I'm aware of by virtue of being a single pole, and what it is that I'm connected with therein, on what I know to be true and what isn't true. And there's only one thing that's true for me, because that's what love is. True love is pure, unconditional love, on fire to give away love. That's why it's called true love. So you know it's true. So when you stand on a single candlestick, as I did when I was 4 years of age, I'm not budging. Ever. Okay? So there's only one truth. That's one. The law of one. So I am the law of one. Okay? So that means that nothing that anybody else says forever, okay, will ever convince me otherwise of knowing what I am as the one. No matter what everybody else is saying they experience, I will never leave being what the law of one is, because I totally surrender to serve forever on behalf of the one. So I am the one. Okay? That means that all perception of power does not come through control over others, but giving away energy forever to the all creation, which means we're equal unto all. That's an equilibrium state by default. That's how it works. That's how the math works. So you know there's a built-in mathematician in creation spheres, and why spheres are such effective ways in which to do what? Make sure everybody's getting enough love. Because everybody has the inherent right, like an error. And it's funny how on Yellow Rose's community section, she put up there recently, you'll see where she showed about a clock position, right, on the sun. And she mentions hairs, H-E-I-R-S, the heirs. Now, in their perception, the inverted perception, they think of that as an heir to the throne, known as the Game of Thrones, which is an AI war gamer. You have the AI war gamer Thrones, Game of Thrones, or Star Wars games. And then you have the heirs to the throne, or the heir to the crown. And the crown is the cosmic level magician. A cosmic level sound magician. Okay, that's when you've blown through all your circuits, totally surrendered on behalf of the one, to become fused between male and female energies to become one. Now all that energy is lit on fire, which is phosphorus. And when you experience that, you will believe before it actually happens that every piece of your skull is going to obliterate into a gazillion pieces. Whoa. That's total surrender. That's when I took my headset off. I'm done with these folks. The math is built in. So it is buffoonery, you know. I mean, All you have to do is walk through any city, and sometimes I'm always very careful about saying, yeah, but this is your free will. That's true. It is a free will to do that. Okay? And so you want everybody, just as you do yourself, to be in a state of love and joy, happiness. Everybody's having a lot of fun. They're all enjoying being with each other. Everybody's living in a state of peace. We're all in harmony and we're all in balance. And imagine what that world is like to experience that, being together like that, right? But when you walk through most cities, particularly in America, and you go through any strip mall or any city and you look at the drugstores, the supermarkets, everything that's sold, okay, which costs us electrons, that goes back to them. And when you put it through the lens of the birth certificate system, it's a global crime. This planet is a global, universal, and galactic crime scene. That's what it is. So the light is not going to allow anybody to not have that truth be told. It is. You can experience it every time you walk into a dentist's office. You can experience it every time you walk into a hospital. You can experience it every time you walk into a supermarket. Okay? The list of the amount of contaminants, of what people are exposed to as a result of what was built as an infrastructure on this planet, okay, was meant to not only drive the state of consciousness down, but slow the entire immune system down on the planet, which includes everybody that's here. So this is one of the reasons why I believe it was Rose that put something up about the fact that the only ones that are left are special forces teams, which was to maintain the state of vibration long enough in order to recover enough soul fragments, which basically means is to get our children back. Okay? As a result, if you want to think of the math of it, the acceleration of fracture after fracture after fracture after fracture, from the point in which the War of Heaven began with the one against the one, and how much was lost in between, but how much was lost before that. When Rose had mentioned about laying waste to galaxies because of their need to control, because of their perception of power that's seen through that lens, which is the material side, and not the spirit side of going faster by virtue of how fast we're learning in order to be in service to others. Because what ends up happening is now you're running on high energy. You're not needing any energy from anybody. That's the point. Now you're not a parasite. So yeah. So anyway, here's a caveat. This came to me. When we think about killing fields, right? Okay, so I could walk up to, I'll just give you an example. The guy upstairs say, Aaron, would you have any problem killing your mother? Now, he might say, no, I wouldn't because I hate my mother, right? Or let's put it another way. I'd say, would you have any qualms killing the girl that's living in the room across from you? You wouldn't kill her, would you? No. Okay, but you don't have a problem if somebody else goes out to kill an animal. Would you go out and kill your dog? You wouldn't kill your dog, would you? Okay, so you wouldn't kill your dog, but you'd kill something else. Because in your mind, it's not okay to kill a dog, but it's okay to kill something else in nature. And see, for me, it doesn't make any difference. It can be a dog, a cat, a bird, a bug, whatever. But if you're willing to kill and take life, you're going to lose energy as a result of what you do or use your energy for to experience what it is that you did, which caused the loss of energy in it, which caused the loss of energy in you. That's why it doesn't matter. I've mentioned this many times for me because of the way that I was measured as a child. You put all these little tags and labels on lions, giraffes, dogs, and cats, and how those numbers represent energy in codes, fire letters, right? In other words, don't give it a name. Measure on loss and gain of energy and speed in the immune system of a planet and the level of density that we're operating at as a result thereof. So you realize that the entire planet was a killing field. One unit was killing off something else. Another unit was killing something else off. So now people